What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about 5 different ways to set up a 20-gallon aquarium. In general, everything crosses. You can also go up, you can go down. You can do this with a 5-gallon, 10-gallon, 55-gallon. You can go all the way up as big as you want. The way to assemble these fish tanks is all pretty much crisscross across the board to an extent. We are going to go from extremely basic and simple to the super complicated that takes a long time to get established. And I mean established, not something you can just throw together and it's ready to go in a month. We're talking a couple of years to get these certain kind of tanks set up. So make sure you stay tuned to this video, watch it all the way through. You don't want to miss these different ones. Included in how to set up these fish tanks, we're going to do different types of filters, different types of substrates, when and where to use them. Simple enough. There is a majority of fish keepers versus the minority of fish keepers. So we will also be differentiating between those because it seems that there's a lot of big opinions going on at this point in time, and the information that's being given is deceiving. So along with some of the other fish keeping channels, I'm going to be going into why the information that's given is actually valid, but not for everybody. And it certainly is not for the majority. Now, I know there's people that say fish are not decorations. You are a minority. I'm a fish breeder. I have lots and lots of fish tanks. I do not use them for decoration. I use them for a paycheck. So call it what you will. I'm using them for a paycheck. People use them to help decorate their house. Other people see them as living being creatures, and everybody's allowed to have their own opinion on the subject. It is what it is. You're not going to turn around and change somebody else's mind just as fast as they're not going to be able to change your mind. So these are the different types of people that own fish. You've also got the gatekeepers. I've made videos about them also, how they're not really good for the community because they push people away, and we're trying to get people to come into the community, trying to get the community to grow, trying to get it to prosper. We're trying to get new ways of doing things, especially by going to local breeders instead of the big box stores. That's really cool. Sometimes the big box stores do take on local breeders, which is really neat also. I'm personally trying to set up to get that size where I can go and I can ship to the local Petco, pet supermarket. So here you go. 5 ways to set up a 20-gallon aquarium. Alright, types of substrate. First one, really simple, none. Bare bottom tank. You need great filtration. It takes a while for the filter to get seeded and grow the bacteria, but it's also one of the easiest and simplest to keep clean. Bare bottom, the water flows over everything. Everything goes to the pickup goes to the filter. Done. Sponge filters can be used. Hang on the backs can be used. Sumps and canister filters can be used on bare bottom tanks. Can't use under gravel, there's no gravel. Simple enough. Second one, gravel or stone. Kind of self-explanatory. You can get the really colorful, what they call Skittles gravel. You can get natural gravel, different colors. It's dyed, it's designed for fish tanks. You put it in the fish tank, it's there. Firstly, rinse it, put it in a bucket, rinse it. That way all the floaties you can get out, because it's not going to be 100% clean. So rinse the gravel out real simply. No big deal. Get the floaties out of it. Put the gravel in the fish tank. Good to go. Sand. Put the sand in a bucket. Put a hose in the bucket. Flush the bucket until all the floating debris goes away. Then you put it in your fish tank. That way, anytime you clean something or move something, you don't have this silt layer just floating around in your fish tank for a while. Sand, I personally think, is a pain in the butt. I have sand fish tanks. Doesn't mean I gotta like them. I've got a lot of sand in my backyard, so it's really easy to go out there with a shovel, sift it, strain it, flush it, put it in a fish tank. Plants grow really, really well in it. It's free. It's in my backyard. I live in Florida. I have benefits other people don't. And I take advantage of those benefits. I have a natural well also, so water changes are through a hose. No big deal. Great water. Natural. This is the bite you in the butt one that I have been personally bitten in the butt by. I've got ponds. If you've seen the videos, you've seen the ponds, the boat ponds, the in-ground ponds. You've seen that I have the ponds. I have gone to the local ponds, the local lakes, the local rivers. I have gone and harvested plants out of them, taken the ground and mud and everything. When you get the bulb for a lily pad, you get a lot of everything. When you get all of that stuff, you also get what's living in the lake or body of water that you're removing stuff from. So now some of my ponds, I have had to literally drain them, bleach them, to hopefully try and kill off all of the killifish eggs, and they still keep coming back. Invasive species are real. Invasive species can completely destroy your fish tank, depending upon where you are. If you get a dragonfly larva or a damselfly larva in your tank, they will eat a lot of fish per day. They can. Your fish will just start disappearing, and you'll find this bug that's huge, looks like an alien, scary as can be to some people. I'm so used to them at this point, having all of the outside aquariums and ponds and tanks, that it's just another day at the shop. So natural, when you go natural, you're getting everything that's in that area. The parasites, the bacteria, the good with the bad. You get the good, the bad, the ugly, and the pretty. You get it as an opportunity to set up an ecosystem that gets a full cyclical food chain in it. That is not the majority of fish keepers. Somebody that can get a surviving, thriving ecosystem in a fish tank is not your basic aquarium fish keeper. Those tanks require a lot of patience and a lot of knowledge. Why would you have a bare bottom fish tank? A lot of people would wonder, why would you even want a bare bottom fish tank? Well, a simple answer would be because Oscars. If you've had Oscars, then you know. Other than that, jokes aside, bare bottom tanks are good for quarantine tanks, hospital tanks, 20 gallons, 10 gallons, 5 gallons, 20 gallons you would want for like an Oscar or something like that. These are tanks that are easy to clean. You don't have to worry about substrates. The filters are getting swapped out. Usually you got a small either sponge or hang on the back filter, something you can clean real easily. These are tanks that are used for quarantining fish that you've got that are new, to make sure they have no parasites or diseases. For treating fish that are sick, you remove them from the main tank, you put them in one of these tanks. They get the medication, not the rest of the fish. That way you're saving money on medication because you're not treating a 55-gallon tank. So for the majority fish keeper, bare bottom tanks aren't something that you would see, because they don't really have a use for a quarantine tank or a hospital tank or anything like that. They've just got a couple of fish in a 20-gallon with a couple of fake plants, a couple of real plants, and some gravel, some rocks, and fish. The atypical type of fish tank setup. Not bare bottom. Bare bottom, hospital tanks, quarantine tanks, big fish, little fish, fish that really... It's a very simple setup that's really easy to maintain, really easy to clean, pretty self-cleaning for specific types of fish. If you don't have that type of fish, then chances are you're not going to need a bare bottom for a smaller type of tank. Oh, taste the rainbow, Skittles tanks. One of my personal favorites. Why? Because I'm a fish breeder. I am in these tanks, I'm stirring them up, and I'm moving stuff around all the time. Fake plants, colorful gravel, you throw a black light on it, it looks really neat. The fish don't care. I think it looks neat. It's pretty. The kids like it. The girls like it. Why not? It doesn't hurt anything. The fish breed like crazy. We're running continuous loop air system on my fish breeding tanks. So I've got sponge filters pretty much on everything. All my 10 gallons, 5 gallons, 20 gallons, the longs, the talls, doesn't matter. They're all sponge filters. That's just me because of simplicity. I've also got under gravel filters. Those work really well in 20 gallons. Also, canister filters are not needed for a 20 gallon. That's excessive. Sumps, you usually use a 20 gallon to build a sump out of. So you don't need a sump for a 20 gallon. 20 gallon and below, simple enough. Under gravel, sponge, hang on the back. That's all you need. Skittles tanks, the bacteria grows on in the gravel. I like the colors. You can get natural gravel. That's coming up. We're hitting these different topics. Skittles, this is it. One of my favorites because of the fact that I can tear them apart, put them back together. The fish still have decor. The babies have stuff to hide in. It looks neat. It's colorful. It adds something to the space. This is a large portion of aquarium keepers. May not be you. This might be you. Is this you? I'd love to see your Skittles tanks. They're one of my favorites. SpongeBob tanks, there's a lot of them, but hey, if you've got it set up really cool, I'd really like to see them. So, me having all kinds of Skittles gravel in my different tanks, from fluorescents to blues to all kinds of different colors. You can see them in the walk-arounds. I personally like it. It's very convenient. I will put Java moss or guppy grass in there to have a live plant for the babies to eat and hide in. It also helps keep the tank balanced. And Java moss and guppy grass grow really well, really simple. It's a very simple plant. You throw it in, you don't have to really worry about it. You can clip it as it gets out of control because it will grow a lot. For a large portion of aquarium keepers or fish tank keepers, yes, the Skittles gravel with the SpongeBob stuff and the really cool pirate ships and the fake ornaments, they see aquariums as a decoration. That's their opinion. That's the way they want to do it. It's their home. It's their life. They're allowed to do it. As long as they have proper filtration and the fish's needs are met, there is absolutely nothing wrong with fake plants, fake decorations, and Skittles gravel. I personally really like it. Now, the next one we're going to hit is... Planted tanks are also a very large portion of the aquariums out there. They're not as large as the Skittles and the atypical tanks, which the atypicals you'll be hearing about shortly. Planted tanks are a lot more difficult to keep. You need proper lighting, you need proper aeration, sometimes you need CO2, you need to have the right fish, and you need to not mess with it. Let the plants do their things, you let the tank alone, you have an environment that looks natural. You can have gravel, sand, or natural bottom. All of them work for a planted tank. You can have the Skittles gravel or natural looking gravel. It all works for a planted tank. The planted tanks have real plants, Java ferns, all kinds of stuff that I personally am not experienced with. I don't do a lot with plants. For breeding purposes, a planted tank is not convenient for me because I can't access the inhabitants of the aquarium. I have a couple of tanks that I don't really mess with. Those are semi-planted. We'll show you those. But this is kind of what I'm talking about. The atypical, I have a lot of atypical tanks. No real planted tanks. Definitely no ecosystems. I'm not trying to have those. You may like those. They may suit your purposes. That's awesome. If you can accomplish that amount, that level awesome. I cannot have the convenience of an ecosystem or a planted tank because I am in them too often. Not chasing fish through something that I've got to replant. The planted tanks are tanks that you can put all kinds of different fish in, especially smaller fish. Guppies, platies, tetras, neons. Some cichlids, smaller cichlids, South American, Central American cichlids. If you go over to African cichlids, you want rocks because they have rocky environments. They don't have planted environments. So a rocky environment is going to have a totally different kind of filtration system, and you're probably not going to really have it in a 20 or smaller tank. African cichlids get rather large. You may have shell dwellers and stuff like that. Make sure you do your research, because as I can show you, you get the aragonite, not the gravel. There's certain other things we're not going to get into in this video. This is just general. Planted tanks are planted tanks. You don't mess with them very much. Make sure that the fish you put in a planted tank are suited for the planted tank. Simple enough. Do your research. Make sure you always do your research. The atypical tank. Atypical tank we would call brown gravel, blue gravel, some kind of gravel. It would have an under gravel, a sponge, or a hang on the back filter. One of those three. Simple enough. Some plants, maybe a pirate ship, a skull, some kind of plastic decorations, maybe some real rocks. Maybe they went off a little bit and they got some cool looking rocks like the dragon stones or something. They've got fake, they've got real. It's a big hodgepodge tank. To them, they really like how it looks. They like what they have. It is still a decoration. Some of them will see the fish as pets to a point, but it's still a fish. It's a kind of a decoration. Ironically, the decor or decorations inside the tank are what help make the tank look the way it is. So in a sense, the tank itself is the decoration, not necessarily the fish that are in it, but the tank and the stuff that you have in the tank is the decoration. So any way you look at it, the decor in the tank is for the fish and for the environment and the people to look at. Atypical tank, good hodgepodge of everything put together. Typically, these people also do some research. They learn about the fish that they're keeping, and they know that certain fish are better off with rocks, other fish are better off with certain plants. There's combinations to work together. You try and keep it environmentally specific if you really get into the fish keeping side of things. You try and replicate what the fish would naturally live in. Unless you start mixing fish from different regions, then you kind of just do a rocky planty mix. There's so many options and so many ways to do things that there is no real right one way to do things. It's your tank. How do you want to do it? Typically, people that are watching these YouTube videos are not straight out beginners. They've got an interest to learn about the hobby and about the fish that they're dealing with. That way they can be the best fish keepers that they can be. Overall goal: happy, healthy fish, pretty aquarium, beautiful fish. It adds to the living experience in the house. Aquariums are very relaxing. Very good thing to have. Always had aquariums in my houses. Even growing up, never been without an aquarium. They're extremely peaceful and fun to watch. And last but certainly not least, and by far, this is the most complicated aquarium to get established. It takes patience. It takes time. Things need to get seasoned. These are the ecosystem tanks and the natural tanks. The ones that people are taking and they're going out and they're getting natural stuff from the environment. They're taking the leaf litter. They're taking the water. When harvesting natural plants from their environment, you are risking taking on any thing that's in the water that attaches to plants. Anything that lays eggs, parasites, bacteria, invasive species, stuff that you're not wanting, snails, all kinds of things. Now, I say this because you can go to a fish store and you can buy plants, hopefully that have been treated. But again, even fish stores come with attached critters sometimes. So when you get into this end of things, it gets really complex. But the end result is something that pretty much all you have to do is keep the water topped off, maybe feed once a day, if that. The idea being is you have a complete life cycle ecosystem in your tank. You have the plants, you have the bacteria, the little bitty critters that run around in the substrate that the little fish can eat, stuff that the snails and the shrimp can eat. You've got shrimp, you've got snails, you've got fish. You've got fish of multiple different hierarchies. That way you've got your vegetarians and you've got your meat eaters. You've got your omnivores that eat both. Your algae eaters that keep the glass clean, keep the algae at bay on anything that's in the tank, be it rock or wood. You've got your tank maintenance, you've got your decorative prize, showfish. You know, some tanks have the really wow fish, and then they've got the other fish that kind of go around it. Centerpiece fish, whatever you want to call it. There's so many different names and so many different ways to do this. It's, like I said, it's crazy to sit there and say that one way is the way. Even with ecosystem. With an ecosystem, it might take you a year to get the tank seasoned. You start out with a base. You've got your fertilizer and your sand, and then you put your plants in there. The plants have to take root. They have to get established. You need the cleanup crew, the tank maintenance, and the actual fish that are going to be in the tank to all get along and start their cycles. The fish will reproduce. If you have more of a carnivorous type fish that's going to stay small, it'll help keep the population of the live brooders at bay. So you've got, say, your betta. Bettas eat bugs, they eat baby fish. You've got betta in with guppies. You've got tetras. You've got platies. Tetras are egg layers. Bettas are single, usually solitary single fish. You don't have multiple bettas in one tank. So you've got your tetras, you've got your guppies, you've got your platies, you've got your mollies, you've got your swordtails. And you've got some danios in the tank. You can mix all of these fish together. Danios are egg layers. Tetras are egg layers. Guppies, the platies, the mollies, and the swords are all live bearers. The tetras and the danios will help keep the live bearer brews at bay so that you don't have massive population explosions. Platies are prone to eating their fry. Mollies are prone to eating their fry. Swordtails are notorious for eating their fry. So those fish are actually kind of safe to have in a tank, although they have live babies. If you have males and females, it'll kind of balance out. You're working on an ecosystem. So as fish die, as food gets introduced into the tank, it hits the bottom. The shrimp and the snails take care of that. If you have fish die off in small little batches, like one here and there as they get older, the snails and the shrimp will eat the fish. It is a complete life cycle tank. Like I said, top off the water, clean the filter every once in a while. It's a complete ecosystem. It is a natural environment. These tanks typically don't have fake decorations. They don't typically have fake plants. They need the live plants, and people go crazy with the plants. There are so many cool looking plants in this industry that you can have a 90-gallon I just had a lizard jump off of my fish tank. Hold on a second. Ran away too fast, couldn't get a video of him. Yep. Talking. Whop, look over, lizard. Wow. Florida life. Gotta love it. Anyways, ecosystem tanks, they take patience. They take education. You need experience, you need knowledge. This isn't something you're just gonna jump into. And as complicated as they are to get established, once they're established, they're really simple to maintain. But it takes knowledge, it takes patience, and it takes education. You're on that level, you are not the majority fish keeper. You are on another level above the majority. Kudos to you. Those tanks are amazing. Absolutely beautiful. Not something that I personally can have because I'm continuously moving stuff around in all of my tanks. I don't have a showpiece tank. All of my fish tanks are working fish tanks. Stuff in there is breeding, producing. That way I can sell quality fish to the local fish stores and you guys, general public. You guys like the fish, you're happy with the fish, everything lives a long time, colors are good, quality's good, and there's no problems, no parasites. Happy customers, happy fish keeping. I hope you guys like this video. I hope you made it through to the end of the video. If you made it to the end of the video, throw a comment down in the comment section. Let me know. I really appreciate the views. These were 5 ways to set up a fish tank with a little bit of different types of filters, and we're going to get into other things you can do in the fish keeping hobby. Different filters to use, when to use the different filters. Lights are always neat. Substrates, going to get into it all. See y'all in the next one. Have a great day. Happy fish keeping.